What is going on, everybody? Welcome to my new virtual reality show, VR Beyond a Reasonable Doubt. This is everything virtual reality. Virtual reality covering all the different headsets, virtual reality games, virtual reality game reviews, what's coming out, games coming out, headsets coming out, tech, the latest topics, the latest trends. Your number one source, or it will be your number one VR source on YouTube, with the number one commentary on YouTube, Murray and J08. That award-winning classic voice you all know and love since 2008 and before that. Radio DJ, entrepreneur, YouTuber, this, that, and the other thing. What is going on? This is the intro pilot episode of what will hopefully be a long series ahead. We have lots to cover, but for this first episode, I figure what's better than to talk about the elephant in the room that hasn't entered the room yet, the PlayStation VR2. Now, I have been covering it since its first announcement, since it was rumored, right? And I have mine, of course, pre-ordered, which is only through the Sony Direct. Have experience with them back in the PlayStation 5 days when it was impossible to get. Now, believe it or not, it's a lot easier to get now. And the PSVR 2 hasn't been too bad to pre-order. Now, there's two different bundles. There is the standalone and then the one with Call of the Mountain, Horizon, which is the flagship killer app, as they're calling it. That's the game that they showed off at CES that you would check out if you were trying out the headset. Very cool. It's supposed to be mind-blowing. Now, I am a day one buyer of the PSVR 1. I have tons of games for it. I've reviewed them. I've done giveaways. I've done unboxings. I've done reviews. I've done some articles for Sony in the past. I've been on their podcasts. Award-winning articles throughout the years. Featured Murray and J08. And long extended talks with going all the way back to Jack Tretton, Sean Layden. So I've been there since the beginning as far as the Sony side. I've been there with HTC, with Valve. I've been there with the MetaQuest, the Oculus, the Rift. I have an Oculus MetaQuest 2. Absolutely love it. You know, the advantage is because it's leaps and bounds from the PSVR 1. It's wireless. It's standalone. You don't need it tethered to anything. You can have it tethered to a PC, but you don't have to. It's got some great technology. The controls are really nice. The quality of the glass is really nice, especially compared to the PSVR 1. But you have to remember, when the PSVR 1 came out, that was some pretty heavy stuff. I used to have, now you got to remember too, VR was, not that VR was new, but in the home, it pretty much was in the console space, you know. I mean, you had the Rift, but this was more common, you know. Oh, I got a PS4. I'll get a PSVR. So what I would do is I would have people come over that had nothing to do with gaming. And I would sit them down and I would say, do you want to see something? The most priceless thing was putting that headset on someone and watching their reactions that knew nothing about games, nothing about VR. So there was like a demo disc that you would get with the bundle. And one of the experiences was You would put them into a shark tank or a cage, and you would drop them down into the ocean, and they would go deeper and deeper and deeper, and a great white shark would swim around them. Their expressions were priceless. It was like going to an amusement park in your own house. People would leave stunned. Some would keep coming back and they wouldn't want to leave the Murray and J08 studios. I had to get popcorn, snacks. I had to make hot dogs. They never knew, VR existed. I'm hoping for an experience like that on the PSVR2 with this beautiful technology, these new specs. You're never going to experience that first VR experience for the first time. It's like I was reading a post the other day on Twitter and they said, if you could experience a game for the first time again, like if we could erase your mind, what would it be? And I was thinking to myself, I was thinking of a couple things like, The Last of Us, a few movies I was thinking of, but I was thinking that VR experience, like when you first put the headset on, like, whoa. And to an extent, I felt all that over again when I got an Oculus Quest. And then I went somewhere down by the mall by us, and they have a little virtual area, and they have like this thing where you put the headset on and you're on a roller coaster, which I have all that. But what's cool is that they have the actual motional chair that moves. So you're getting the movement with the vision and, you know what I mean? Very cool stuff. The PSVR 2 has eye tracking, which I'm super psyched about. It's one of the only VR headsets that has it. I can't wait for that. I can't wait to see how the developers take advantage of this new technology and how they're going to, could you imagine how games are going to take advantage of stuff like that? I figure in this episode, we'll do a couple things, okay? You know what's coming, what's ahead, what this show's all about, right? So we talked about that, the intro. Now we'll talk about PSVR 2 specs, what to expect on this show during the launch of it, how I'm going to cover it, games that are coming out for it, and comparing it to the other existing popular headsets. How about that? Good way to start the show off, guys? I think so. Okay? So we'll get into it. But I just wanted to get that bit of housekeeping out of the way. I am a big fan of technology, of new technology, and I like to be that day one buyer. I like to be that day one guinea pig. That's what I do. That's why you have guys like us in the game. That's why you have guys like us to do the dirty work so you guys don't have to, Day one since day one. Steam Deck. Consoles. Headsets. Kitchen appliances, whatever. Whatever has to do with technology. Roombas. Anything that's wacky and zany. And I've always been interested in augmented reality, like the HoloLens, like Microsoft is working on, and virtual reality. And virtual reality always was, I know it's a niche, and I know it's not an everybody thing. People, I know the whole thing with the motion sickness, which this is supposed to be very good at. I knew a couple people that did get motion sickness with the PSVR 1. I didn't know any personally that came here. At least with the experiences that I let them do. But I know the MetaQuest, the Oculus Quest 2, whatever you want to call it, really worked on that and is a pretty smooth experience. So I guess it depends also on the developer and how their game is. I mean, I would imagine like a racing game, games with a lot of color and movement. But again, I'd like to see how that eye tracking works. Let's get right into Let's get into the desktop and check out some of these websites here. Overkill. Launch details. The PSVR2 is worldwide on February 22nd, barring any delays, given how close we are now to its release date. Yeah, most likely it's not going to get pushed. All right, I'm glancing and skipping through all important stuff here. All right, the price for the standard set that I talked about before is going to be $549. All right, and then there's going to be and that will come with the headset itself, all the cables to get started, along with the PlayStation VR2 Sense controller. Oh, and stereo headphones, because they're not built in like the Oculus, you know? And there's also going to be a $599 or $600 Call of the Mountain bundle. That includes a digital copy of the game. All right, as long as what you get in the standard bundle. And here's a picture. So these are the nice controllers. Look how comfy they are. So if you remember the PSVR1, you had the goofy motion control, what do you call them? The move controls that were back from the PS3, right? That used that old technology that had like the tracking balls on them that lit up, which I never really had a problem with. I think they're actually pretty neat. Some games really take advantage of them, like that Until Dawn game, Rush of Blood, which is coming out with a sequel that we're going to talk about, which is like a haunted roller coaster game. But these controllers are more like the Oculus Quest or MetaQuest 2 controllers. But these actually grip right around your shoulder. You don't need no wrist or nothing because you're grabbing them. Or like a strap. So they're similar. They look similar design to the Oculus. And you can see how influenced this design scheme is of the PS5. It really goes well with it. So where to buy right now, it's just at the PlayStation Direct. It was invite only, but now you can go willy-nilly and just order one. And there's one per household, and I believe that still stands true. All right, we're going to get into the specs in a minute because I'm going to compare it with other controllers, other headsets. All right, and then we got the specs here. If you want to pause, you're more than welcome to. The Sense controller specs. So pretty high tech here. Okay. The PSVR2 is completely different than its predecessors. So it makes sense, get it, that they aren't comfortable or they aren't compatible with one another. Still, it's a bummer. All those original PSVR games will be left in the dust. True and not true. So, from what it seems like, a lot of games are going to be also available in the PSVR2 store, but you're either going to have to buy them again, bummer, or I'm seeing a few of them are going to be coming out with upgrade fees. We're going to talk about that too. Thankfully, some PSVR2 games such as No Man's Sky, After the Fall, and Hello Neighbor, Search and Rescue are offering free upgrades. Also, to add to that, Gran Turismo 7 and Resident Evil Village. So there you go. But like games like Thumper, I believe they're going to have an upgrade fee. Thumper kicks ass, by the way. All right, and then you got them. Okay, so they are comparing them here, but I have another website where they actually have a graph, like a list. Okay, here we go. So there's no shortage of PSVR2 games in the works, and the launch lineup is stacked to say the least. There are well over 70 announced games in the works for PSVR2, with 23 available at launch. I believe that's up now. Launch games to include Horizon, Call of the Mountain, Moss 2, great game. I got that. And the Dark Pictures Switchback. That's the Until Dawn Rush of Blood sequel. That's day one. Many existing PS5 titles, so here we go. Resident Evil Village, Gran Turismo 7, and No Man's Sky also are set to offer free PS2 upgrades, meaning you don't need to purchase anything else. So there you go, right off the bat. So if you're already in the ecosystem environment, then, you might have some of this stuff already. Okay? Let's get into it. Let's check this graph out. So this was from IGN. And as you can see here, each column is different. So we have the PSVR2, we have the PSVR, we have the Oculus, MetaQuest, whatever, and the Valve Index, right? So we'll go through some of these. So like pixels per eye. We're not gonna do every one, but I'm gonna take a glimpse at some of these, the important ones. Pixels per eye and display, right? They're important. So the PSVR2, the top dog right now. 2,000 by 2040 per eye. Now you compare that to the first PSVR, 960 by 1080 per eye. All right, they're both OLED. Now the Oculus was LCD, but beating the PSVR 1 at 1832 by 1920. But then again, look at it compared to the PSVR 2, and if we scroll here, we could see that the PSVR 2 beats even the Index. And the Index was also using the LCD. Now, eye tracking is pretty intense. So we have that as a special feature of the PSVR 2. As you can see here, it is not available on the other headsets. So that's going to be one of the selling points, right? Let's see what else. Okay, so... Yeah, so these all both have built-in headphone jacks, whereas the Valve and the Quest have built-in speakers and headphone jacks. That's a nice feature. So that will be missed on it. So, a give and take. Of course, the controllers are completely different on each headset, right? And the software is going to be obviously different, all right? And I'm pretty happy with the Oculus store as well. They're always adding stuff, always having good sales. So there you go. There's a quick comparison, right? Okay, so here we go. Here's a picture of some of the titles that you're going to be seeing. Launch day and launch window for the PlayStation VR 2. So, I'll just briefly get this out there. The launch of a system is very important, right? You always think back, just think of this as a console, right? Think of it as like a PS5, a PS2, an Xbox, a Switch. It's a console, right? It's going to be its own thing, its own games. You always want a strong launch, correct? If a headset doesn't have a good launch, it's going to be DOA. Not only does it have to have a good launch, it has to be supported in the future. Vita. And, it's got to have a lot of games in the launch window. And I'm sure they're going to be talking about this at E3 or a Sony State of Play. That would be smart. What's coming, right? I mean, that's smart business 101. Now, I heard some people complaining. I heard some people not complaining. Now, this is interesting because if you look at this for what it is, this is actually a really good lineup. If you're new to VR and you don't have the past headsets, you are in for some great experiences. Now, if you have some past technology such as the PSVR 1 or the Oculus Quest 2 or the Valve Index or all of them, Maybe not so much. Because it uses a lot of those. So it depends. But overall, if you're not comparing it to have owned other systems, this is an excellent launch window. And I would imagine that they're going to come out with more exclusive stuff and stuff that wasn't on those systems. Let's get into what is actually on there. After the Fall, Altair Breaker, Before Your Eyes. Skybound is a great company, by the way. Let me just talk to you about this. I don't know an extreme amount about this game. It wasn't on my original radar, but I heard some people talking about it, and supposedly this is going to be a really day one purchase because this uses the eye tracking. This is one of the developers that took advantage of the eye tracking. So I'm definitely going to be checking this out. Cities VR, Cosmonius, High, Creed, Rise to Glory, great, that's a good one. The Dark Picture Switchback, a Submassive Games, that's the one I was telling you about. Demio, played that on the Quest. Dyschronia. Fantavision 22X, this is one I'm really looking forward to. I saw this, it's like almost like an asteroid type, like fireworks looking game. From what I've seen, I'm very interested in it. I'm going to be buying that day one. Gran Turismo 7, free upgrade. Horizon Call of the Mountain, that's going to be the killer app. Job Simulator, we all know about that. Jurassic World Aftermath, I bought that on Quest. Kayak VR, this looks good. Kazuna, The Last Clockwinder, The Light Brigade. Moss 1 and 2, Remaster. I didn't see Remaster. That's interesting. I wonder if they changed something in each one. NFL Pro Error. I'm really looking forward to getting this. I don't have Pro Error on any other system. No Man's Sky. Can't wait for that. Pavlov VR. That's a good game. Pistol Whip. Great game. Puzzling Places. Resident Evil Village. Can't wait. Res Infinite. Great game. Song in the Smoke. Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge. Synth Riders, The Tale of Ongoro, Tentacular, that looks cool. Tetris Effect, fantastic game. Thumper, amazing game. Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, amazing game. Vacation Simulator, What the Bat, and Zenith, The Last City. Wow. I mean, like I said, that's a great lineup, guys. Let me go back here. That's a great lineup. And again, if you didn't have previous VR's headsets, you're in for a freaking treat. So I guess it depends on if you're coming from previous virtual reality technology or if you're brand new to this. I think either way it's good. Even if you was to re-experience is the word I'm looking for. Some of those titles in a new headset like PSVR2 with the new technology and the eye tracking. And who knows what those games are going to take advantage of. Like Moss, I saw Moss 1 and 2 is remastered. Maybe it takes the ability of the eye tracking. I don't know. I guess that's to be seen. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. Now, as far as the coverage, we're going to have an unboxing. We're going to have a first impressions that will follow it. We're going to have a review. We're going to have a first impressions and review of the games, my top games, what games I've experienced on it, and so forth and whatnot, and then a giveaway. So expect that for the Murray NJ08 PSVR2 coverage. I guess I'll do like a launch coverage. And maybe some accessories too. Like I see there's a charging station. We'll have to check into that. And that is that, guys. I think I'm going to wrap it up for episode 1 of VR Beyond a Reasonable Doubt, a virtual reality show. Follow me on Twitter at Sean Murray and J. Follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/MurrayNJ08. I got you covered in the world of virtual reality. We are virtual reality lovers here. And I will be seeing you soon on the next episode. Chime in below what you would like to see on the next episode. I do take viewer feedback. Love to hear from you guys. Murray and J08 is all about viewer interactions and feedback. Take care. Love you guys. Be safe. Murray out.